Okay, general business 9A, marijuana business ordinance, first reading. We will, Mr. Johnson, go ahead.
Mayor Kropp, I move
sorry.
that we, to approve the introduction and first reading of the revised City of Mount Clemens marijuana business ordinance and to set the second reading and adoption for May 2nd, 2022.
Support.
Okay, now Mr. Johnson, sorry about that.
Thank you. At the conclusion of a special work session held on March 21st, the City Commission consensus clearly appeared to favor proceeding with the revised ordinance allowing marijuana businesses to be located in heavy industrial, light industrial, and general commercial zone properties, which are no closer than 1,000 feet to a school, no closer than 200 feet to a park or church, no closer than 150 feet to residentially zoned property, and no closer than 1,500 feet to another marijuana business. We provided the commission with a map, and we put that got added today to what's online, that shows the properties that are potentially eligible, and we noted that these are in several different groups, and in most cases, if any one property within that group gets approved for a marijuana business, it will be within 1,500 feet of the others, and they will no longer be eligible. During the regular meeting on that same date, the commission let second reading and final approval of the marijuana business ordinance fail for lack of a second. That puts us back at the beginning of the process. So before you tonight, we're back at first reading on the revised ordinance. And Commissioner Voorhees has already made the motion. If there's any questions, I'm going to ask that you address them to the city attorney.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments for the first reading?
I do have a question.
Okay.
And mine is actually one that someone else brought up, because I noticed that it was added to, it was not in the previous drafts, the State of Michigan pre-qualification letter. So I'd like to know what a pre-qualification letter is, and why did we add it now as opposed to not having it previously?
The letter, there's a process by which entities can be pre-approved by the state of Michigan, submit their financial information, and comply with all of the requirements of the state, and they will then give them what was called a pre-qualification letter.
Is this something new, or?
No, it's been around for quite a while. But now they, as indicated by one of the speakers, the state doesn't require that be done, but it's still available. You can still do it.
Why did we add it now? I'm just
Well,
curious.
because I think it makes it, given the way this process will work, as applications are being submitted, it's going to obviously eliminate other locations. And if they're not pre-qualified, if they don't have a pre-qualification letter, then we may end up with some applicants who we approved, but they didn't ultimately get their certificate, get the state approval.
So-
If you want it out, it can be taken out.
Yeah, I wanted to know what it is. I mean, it hasn't
Yeah.
been there up till
And
now.
I would comment just on the comments that were made a moment ago. I believe there was one comment as to why the different types of facilities cannot be located at the same location. And I direct them to page 7 of the proposed ordinance 7B, which specifically provides grower, provisioning center, retail establishment, processor, and designated consumption establishment may, subject to other applicable provisions of the ordinance and rules, operate at the same location. And then as to the 500 feet, Why was a designated consumption establishment? That's not what that provision provides on page 28I. What it provides is that a designated consumption establishment shall not place any advertisements within 500 feet of a public or private elementary, vocational, or secondary school. That's what that provision says. It is not inconsistent. The designated consumption establishment still has the same distance requirements as the other ones.
While you're on that topic, so let make sure I understand the distance requirements. So if you take stalls, that was the example that was brought up, which kind of surprised me, but you couldn't have one there. I don't even know if the stall's in Mount Clemens, probably some corner of it or something touches, but
Part of the building is.
what, it is within X feet of a school, and therefore it could not, it doesn't say schools in Mount Clemens, it says schools, right? I
It
mean,
says schools, the
yeah.
language says schools.
the language
yeah.
says schools, so it's,
But its impact as it relates to properties that are not located within the city, I don't know that it has any application. By way of example, would be residential. Okay, if there's a residential piece that is in Clinton Township, that has nothing to do with our ordinance. Okay, now St. Louis, it all depends where those various, is St. Louis in the city of Mount Clemens? Okay, and is Stalls in the city of Mount Clemens? If only a portion of it is, I don't think it would
It's just this little,
qualify.
I think so. I mean,
There's nothing close to stars.
I know, well, the
On the map.
schools are, yeah.
Well, I know, but there's nothing, it's not designated anywhere that we can put anything there.
Yeah, but I don't know, but I don't believe Stalls is in the city of Mount Clemens.
Clinton
George.
Township.
Clinton Township.
this little tiny
So-
parcel is not.
Yeah.
So I don't see how that's
Yeah, so say that.
an issue, but at the same time, I don't see how it's an issue, if there's not, so we can't, our designation, our requirement to be X feet from a school doesn't apply to schools in another township, and I understand this is our ordinance. This is gonna get crazy. Because I wouldn't want one there either. You know, I mean, Trinity Lutheran is right there. They have a school, they have, but wouldn't they have to have permission from Clinton Township, who does not have an ordinance
Well-
that allows?
Number one, I go back to, I don't believe Stalls is in the city of Mount Clemens, so it's a moot point.
Okay,
It-
but is there, I mean, that just brought, I did that as an example because I had never thought of that before you guys that up. So I'm just trying to understand what the problem is, and are we creating a problem? Never thought of it.
Well, I don't know, and it could be, that there may be. The only ones I have thought about at all, and this was even back during the medical marijuana ordinance, was that there may be, well, there is, in fact, probably residential within, closer than what these distances are, in other communities.
Which,
Yeah.
but you can't, I mean, you're,
No, but you have that already on
Yeah.
Groesbeck with jars.
Yeah.
I don't
There's a
know, but
tiny
it seems to
piece.
me that the residential may be within 200 feet. I'm not sure, but it's not in Mount Clemens.
See, that is,
You know, we can only control what's
Riverside
Exactly.
in the city of Mount Clemens.
Crocker here.
I'm not trying to, yeah, I agree, and we're not trying to be irresponsible or cause issues, but our ordinance can only apply to Mount Clemens. Okay, so, pre-qualification.
Did you have other questions?
I do.
Sorry. Allergies.
So, can we just walk through how this is gonna work when they apply and how it's going to, if someone applies, so we're going to have an initial receipt period, as described on page 13. We're going to designate a date. How are we going to determine that date?
Well, I have a suggestion on that date, and that is that the second, if the first reading is approved, and it's set for a second reading and adoption, that would be on May 2nd. We then would have 10 days for publication. And the effective date of the ordinance would be approximately May 13th or 14th, when the ordinance would become effective. My suggestion is that the acceptance period would commence on June 15th and end on June 30th. Now, the reason for the 30-day lag is that the clerk needs to develop applications and finalize some of the mechanics of accepting the applications. So those are the dates that I would suggest.
Okay,
And those are to be written in under 4?
Yes, they would be inserted under, on
4A.
page 14,
4A.
4A, yes,
That's 6:15 to 6:30, correct?
correct.
so let me ask you this. How long does it take to get a pre-qualification letter?
I don't know, I've never applied.
Yeah, I mean, that's my
So I
only
don't
thing.
know.
If we put something in here that,
The last time around, I can just tell you, this is not something new or tricky. The last time around under medical, they all came with pre-qualification letters, okay, with their applications. So I would presume this time around, most of them would have that. But if you don't want the
I
pre-qualification, it
don't know
could
if
be
I don't.
eliminated.
No, I'm
Yeah,
just trying to
if
understand
That's an
it.
issue.
What is
I'd
it?
eliminate it only from the standpoint of the time frame we're looking at. If you're talking about the 15th and the 30th, that's 15 days, I would just eliminate it. It wasn't in there before, it's not necessary. Why complicate it a little bit more?
Fine.
Well, if we're not
That's
giving
just- I mean, that's my
60 to 90
opinion.
days, then
Sorry.
I would say, don't give us another reason to end up in court, right?
Yeah, I just want,
Okay.
I agree.
That's fine.
I just wanted
That's
to
fine.
understand it.
All right. Anybody else any,
Okay, so one other
No,
thing,
it's
I
okay.
will say, just say it, and I was,
Denise, it's not you with the tabs this time, right?
Yeah, she's learned from
I
me.
know, right?
oh, no.
You do have tabs, though, I see it.
So, and this was probably an oversight on I'll take even, but I don't see why a grow has to be 1,500 feet from another grow. I agree with the 1,500, I overwhelmingly agree with 1,500 feet for dispensaries and consumption centers, but I don't for grow. And I said, I'm on record of saying that way back when. So, and by separating these, I would just I'm not seeing the reason for it. So I don't know if anyone else has had any thoughts on that, but I see no reason to separate grows as long as they meet all the other requirements between marijuana, one marijuana grow to another.
I think
I
I'm,
could live with 1,000, but I don't think I want to go to 500.
I guess
1,000 or
one
1,500.
of the most obvious reasons is the odor, et cetera. If you, I presume, if you congregate a number of
many?
them all together, yeah, odor is an issue to begin with grow, so that would be one of the reasons. But I thought that, you know, I mean, whatever you want to do, if you want to change it, you can change it. But I thought the last time around with the last maps, that it was pretty much a consensus that that's what we were doing, was 1,500 feet.
No, I totally agree with the 1,500 for, like, as I said, I just thought the grows were not necessarily going to be at 1,500. But if no one else has a problem with it,
I mean, I thought that 1,500 was too stringent to begin with, but that was, I mean, my opinion across the board. I thought it was too much, but I think I was the only one, so.
Once again, the only other
So-
thing I would add is that this ordinance, like every ordinance, is subject to amendment.
Right, yep,
Right.
So,
yep,
I think this is a good point of beginning.
yep. That's what
See
it,
what happens. You can always revise it.
mhm.
So we've kind of gummed this to death.
kind
you
of.
know. So, you know, I think we need to move forward with it.
I just want to say, we've changed to zoning. This is going to be zoning.
Yep,
And everything we're bringing up, take a look at your map. Your map is extremely limited.
right.
So, I mean, I'm not sure why I understand some of the questions, but I'm just not sure if it applies anymore since we're not doing it the other way. Since we're doing it by zoning, I look at this and there isn't a whole lot of places
I think it does
that
affect
you're gonna
some
be
of
on
the
top of
growth.
one another, and some of these places aren't gonna be selling at this point in time, if you take a look at where the businesses are. So I kinda think that, you know, we're gonna beat a dead horse with 500,000, but, you know, I mean, I think your map is gonna determine the whole thing,
Well, the map is going to determine
personally.
it, and the criteria in the,
And if we get, you know, as someone suggested, we're gonna get sued one way or the other, and we can't shy away from that anymore. We're doing this 3-4 years. If we're gonna fear getting sued, then we should basically put something in that Mount Clemens doesn't want it at all. Because you're bound to get sued, somebody's not gonna be happy.
oh,
So,
that's very obvious.
Yeah, but that's not gonna solve
It
the issue
shouldn't-
either, because then there'll be a ballot referendum. I mean,
right,
it's-
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
it's, I
Yeah.
can't think that.
I have a question. I did, one of the points that Patrick brought up, for the, consumption lounge, when I was reading it, I thought that was kind of strange that we have all the dispensaries closing at 9, but then consumption lounges can be open till 1. I thought, well, we have bars, last call, you know, like,
well, the consumption lounges are open till 1.
yeah, that's what I'm
The
saying,
issue
but you
with-
can't purchase
the-
anything past 9, then,
Well,
if dispensaries are,
But my understanding of consumption lounges is you can bring it in.
but you can't have anything delivered if the dispensaries are closed.
Well,
So I didn't think, I thought, can we put in there that if they're adjacent to it, or or delivery only, like Patrick was saying, or something like that,
You
then,
could add in under,
I mean, because it just doesn't make sense to me if
under the
if the consumption lounge is
provisioning
open.
centers, you could, retail, we could add language that deliveries are
Yeah, I
allowable.
mean, it just doesn't make sense that we would have,
That would be
Yeah.
on page 18, down at the bottom, A.
you mean add it there?
Well, no, that's where it says no provisioning center and/or retail establishment shall be open between the hours of
Right,
9
9
p.m.
and-
9
yeah.
a.m. I was just pointing out where it was.
Yeah, so I didn't, that just didn't make much sense to me, because I was,
So people can't bring it in though, right?
They can.
Yeah, they can.
They can? So you can bring your own in, or you can have it delivered there. Okay.
I
So you
don't
can
know that,
stockpile it.
I thought yeah,
I thought you had to have it delivered.
I thought so too. I didn't think they would want you to bring in,
My understanding is they can bring it in.
okay. Clearly, clearly I'm not their target market.
Clearly, this is a little
So.
more complicated than if they can bring it in. I don't see what
Oh,
they could do.
I just, doesn't, I mean,
I'll make that change.
is there anyone else with any feedback, questions? We've got some tabs there, Mr. Menzer.
Yeah, pretty much most of the questions have been answered. Mr. Murray already answered the one about the 1,000 feet for the advertisement of a consumption establishment, and you just asked the question about the 9 PM versus the 1 AM. And I think I'm pretty set.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? All right, call the roll, please.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crap.
Yes. I feel like I'm